Hey guys, Zen Cop here. This is my first podcast slash video blog slash anything ever for YouTube. I'm really not that much of a YouTube guy, but in terms of the coming podcast and everything else, I wanted to sort of get my feet wet in terms of getting used to doing the whole audio thing. I'm using my phone, so I'm sorry if this doesn't sound very good. One of my biggest turnoffs for any podcast is when I turn it on and the audio is crap. It doesn't sit well with me. So bear with me. I'm in the process of getting all that set up, and initially I'm probably just going to do some quick 10-minute blurbs. Nothing crazy, nothing super lengthy. It's going to focus a lot on what the blogs talk about. And as time goes on, I'll explore new topics and things that can be discussed. And I say this a lot, but I'll say it for anyone who's listening for the first time, that a lot of the things that I talk about, blog about, post about, yes, it's cop related, but it's very much applicable to anyone. It's applicable to people who care about where we are right now as a country. It's applicable to people who care about public safety. I try not to get into politics, although politics do oftentimes segue into the topics at hand. I try to make it a very, very open and neutral setting so that dialogue can occur as a result. And that's kind of my main thing is dialogue. And one of the reasons why I started this back in 2021 was I wanted to create dialogue that that could create positive change, because right now I feel like we are in a very difficult spot. If you do hear random noises, that's my dog. He refused to exit the room, so he's here. I'm going to talk a little bit about my most recent blog post titled, "Am I Toxic for My Agency, or is my agency toxic for me?" This covers a pretty wide variety of issues that we are currently facing in law enforcement. As the months slowly turn into years, there's a lot of cops who are asking themselves that question: am I toxic, or is my agency toxic? And some are very jaded by the way they were treated, during COVID, being forced to choose between their own beliefs and their family's livelihoods. A lot of them were also treated like scapegoats and pariahs by their administration, command staff, and city government leaders following the death of George Floyd. And a lot of cops across the nation were basically told, hey, you're the worst part of society and we hate you. Cities burned, lots of people died, and a lot of cops lost the fortitude to be the cops they once were. They sort of lost that flame inside of them that said, hey, we can keep going, we can persevere, and I still have a desire to pursue justice and public safety. And after the past couple of years, after being, land-based, society's basically trying to dust them off, push them back into a patrol car, and fully expecting them to move forward mentally as fast as crime is escalating. And I'm in my 12th year of law enforcement. I've never been legitimately worried about the future of this country, and I am now, in terms of the justice system and the criminal element that is not only breathing in the United States but thriving. It's getting worse and worse every day, and no matter where you are in the nation, everyone can feel it. It's there. We are at a new level of concern for public safety, and in the meantime, those of us in charge of enforcing public safety are truly questioning, hey, do I really want to do this for the next X amount of years? And during all that chaos, a lot of cops already made that mental decision, hey, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to leave. I'm going to find something else. And it wasn't just a change of scenery for the agency, but they're talking about walking away from the job. Most cops will have an experience at an agency before they transition to the agency that they're going to make into a career. Most cops will work for 2 agencies before their retirement, and that's pretty common. But now I'm just seeing people considering other alternatives for work. And the running joke is, give me a job with the same pay and the same benefits and I'll quit tomorrow. The benefits and all that, I mean, a lot of people think cops make good money. They make okay money. most cops make okay money. I wouldn't say it's great money by any means, but you have to look at the exchange that comes, for that paycheck. And lately it's been one of those things where you're like, man, I don't get paid enough. But when good cops leave and they stay gone, it creates a very dangerous environment for the future and for the community. What we have to consider is that most people who are cops, they possess a basic set of skills that the average person does not. Most cops are pretty good talkers. They're pretty good doers. They're compassionate. They want to help people, kind of all those random check boxes. But the really good cops, the really good ones, they have that advanced skill set that comes from a personality trait, not just training. They were either born with it or they learned it along the way. And those specific skill sets allowed them to be the cops who would not only impact their community, but they would be leaders among their peers and within their agencies. And when those cops choose to say, I'm done, then it creates a very, very catastrophic ripple effect within the community, and everyone's going to suffer as a result. Now, what's frustrating is when those cops voice their concerns and their administration fails to listen. It's important to understand that during challenging times, everyone is going to have their own separate set of problems, and we are without question in a very challenging time right now. But the boots on the ground are quite literally the wheels of any agency. And if those wheels fall off, it's not good for business. And I have friends in law enforcement all over the state of California. I have some friends on the East Coast, and I can assure you that everyone currently shares a very similar frustration, and that stress is very palpable. At the same time, I've lost count of how many cops have died this year. I've lost count of the people who have walked away. Society has lost control, and we are losing that battle in terms of public safety. And the fix is not only complicated, but it's multifaceted. And when we consider the employee, right, this new generation, the face of law enforcement, right, George Floyd's death and the chaos that followed is easily going to impact law enforcement for the next 2 decades, easily. What's frustrating is that because of that incident, many would-be great cops decided to pursue a different career path entirely. They went to do anything else but law enforcement. And as a result of those would-be good cops going elsewhere, the likelihood of another Derek Chauvin being hired increased by a very large margin. I mean, if we really think about it, the hiring pool has become so shallow that agencies are now hiring cops that more than likely would have been told, hey, thanks for your interest, but, and those guys are now jumping into a patrol car, and it's kind of a roll of the dice. When employees voice their concerns, it's important for the agency to actually listen, especially if they're a good cop. And there should be concern when the good cops are questioning their futures in law enforcement. Most agencies will say you're replaceable, and that's true. But the replacement that fills the shoes of the person who chose to walk away is going to be very different from the person they previously had. The attitude of good cops being completely replaceable is no longer applicable in this current climate. The good cops need to be retained. They need to be here. If they leave, it's only a matter of time before the chaos that ensued in the year 2020 happens again. If this agency doesn't listen, then we are at a crossroads, right? If they don't want to hear the concerns, then most cops are going to say, okay, then I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else. And if that is a palpable issue nationwide, I think collectively that the answers are going to be fairly linear for how we address it. And that's going to be a whole other conversation and probably a different video blog or post. But it's very important that anyone who's listening to this, if you are in this career field and you feel like giving up, don't. If you have to walk away for your own reasons and intentions, do it. But understand that nothing is permanent, right? The pendulum will swing. It'll swing back. I can't promise what's going to come back with it. But if you ask yourself, am I toxic for my agency or is my agency toxic for me? Those are two different roads you can walk down, and it's up to you to decide which road you want to walk down. But above all, your mental health, your physical health, or health are the two most important things you can look after as a cop. And even if you're not a cop, same thing. So that's it, guys. Sorry if this was crap. Yeah, still trying to work out the kinks. So Hopefully I'll be doing this again. I want to try and do maybe one of these a week. Not sure who's listening or who's going to hear me. I could be talking to myself for all I know. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you did, you can find me on Instagram at the Zen Cop, THZENCOP, or the blog at www.thezencop.com. Also on YouTube, The Zen Cop, and Twitter, The Zen Cop. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.